Thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. A Glimpse of the Kingdom can remain free because of generous donors like you. If you'd like to donate, feel free to do so online, or you can send payments through Facebook Messenger. Don't forget to tell your friends about it so that they can enjoy this ministry as well. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any podcasts.
You can listen to my daddy every single day, like in the gym, in the car, or just at home. Glimpse of the Kingdom is awesome!
Hello, thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I am David Pendergrass. Thought I'd respond to a couple questions here. First question the person asked, it's kind of just stay with me, it's a little bit longer question, but you'll understand it. Although many versions have a different translation, the predominant translation for Matthew 6:13 is, "Do not lead us into temptation." This sounds more like something the devil would do, not God. Is this a valid language translation of this section of the Lord's Prayer? And the question is exactly right. That is typically how it's translated. Here's the tricky part. The Greek word for temptation, do not lead us into temptation, can mean either trial or test or temptation. Trial, test, or temptation. It depends on the context. And, the meaning of the context, the meaning of the verse, what I was thinking of just saying. For example, we know that God tests a person's faith. He can do that. Does all through the Bible. So the idea that you could do the translation, say, lead us not to testing, that's viable. You could say that. God never tempts anyone. James 1:13 says that explicitly. But you still can use either word, and I'll get to that in just a second. But either it's God test or someone is tempted, but God doesn't do the tempting. But either way, the point in Matthew 6:13 is to ask for rescue or deliverance. The expression, don't bring us into, do not bring us into, or lead us not, it means rescue us. Rescue us. So when Jesus says in a model prayer, pray this way, don't lead us into temptation or testing, but deliver us from the evil one or from evil. It's saying the same thing. Deliver us or rescue us from temptation. Deliver us, rescue us from the evil. Deliver us, rescue us from testing. Deliver us, rescue us from evil. So it means this. It just means rescue. So don't worry about lead us not. So Jesus is saying you need to ask, you disciple, you should ask God the Father for rescue or deliverance. Well, deliverance from what, David? Well, that depends on what the Greek is. It's either rescue us from your testing us, that is God's testing us. Why? Because we might fail. Or it means rescue us from temptation when it comes. Whether it be from ourselves, whether it be from evil, Satan, whatever. But whenever it comes, because we might fail. Either way. So it's Jesus' way of saying, almost certainly, disciples, when you're praying, ask God to deliver you, rescue from either the testing that he puts you through, that is to say, for him to be with you when he tests you, or rescue and deliver you from temptation whenever it comes because you don't want to fail. He'll give you strength. Either way, you get to pick. Now, which one do I choose? Quite frankly, I go back and forth. I just can't make up my mind because I don't know of any other evidence that would sway me. There is one reason why, if I had to choose, I would lead toward the temptation as the proper translation. And it's to say it one more time. It doesn't mean rescue us from God tempting us. It means rescue us from temptation itself. And that's because of the next phrase. If these are meant to be parallel, temptation, rescue us from temptation, and rescue us or deliver us from evil, in Greek it can be evil or it can be the evil one. Really, it can be as in Satan, or it can just be the evil that we do. And if I had to choose, I would choose temptation because I think what Jesus is saying is basically deliver us when temptation to do evil comes. Deliver us when temptation to do evil comes. I think it's exactly how we should understand that last phrase. I do. If I had to choose one, I think it's what Jesus is saying. I think he's saying rescue us, lead us not into temptation, or rescue us, deliver us from temptation when the evil comes. I think it's a great way to explain it. But maybe I'm wrong, and Jesus will correct me when I get to the world to come, and I'll be happy with that. I'll be happy to be corrected, but I do think that's what he means. Okay, next question is, why does God allow bad things to happen? That is, child abuse, human trafficking, Christian persecution. Well, all of those examples are caused by humans. God allows humans to do bad things, sin, because he has designed humans with a free will. That is, he does not force us to choose any option. He doesn't force us to choose anything. Free will is necessary for moral responsibility to exist. Free will is necessary for the ability to love. That's why it happens. The reason why people abuse they abuse the childs, is because they choose the wrong thing. They sin. They choose an evil choice. Why do they choose the evil choice? Some people do it for psychological motivations. Some do it for emotional motivations. Some do it for sexual motivations. Some do it because, all kinds of reasons why they would do it. You have to ask them. But whatever the choice is, it was evil to do it. Why did God allow them to do that evil thing to a child? Because he allows them the ability to make the choice in the first place. God doesn't make people choose sin. He hates sin. He hates it. Why was that human traffic? Why did that happen? Well, all kinds of reasons. They either took drugs or they got stolen, and then a human being is forcing them to stay in that position. Why Christian persecution? All down the list it goes. Why murder? Why rape? Why on and on? All these things are because a human has corrupted the will. God gives us, he gives us the permission to be generous or stingy, to tell the truth or to lie. He allows us to help others or to hurt others. He allows us that. He wants us to have the ability to choose. If we could not choose, we could not love, we could have no moral good, no moral values or duties would exist because there would be robots. But instead, now when I give, and I give freely, that is a good thing. I used my will to do a good thing, independent. No one made me. It also means God gets to see what we really do by being free. What will they do? It's a very different thing if I watch my children clean their room and I'm standing in the doorway, my arms crossed and I'm angry because it's so messy, or if I'm not there. It's a big difference if I'm in the room with my children with each other, if they're arguing and they stop when I'm there, or whether I walk out and they don't realize I'm there in the hallway. How they talk to each other is different when I'm in the room. There's a degree to which their freedom is very much influenced. They still have their free will. They still argue in front of me. They can still not clean the room in front of me. But it's kind of like that with God. I think Bill Craig says it best. I think there's an epistemic distance. God deliberately keeps his distance from us now to see what we would do when we have the ability to make free will choices. So that's why God allows it. God allows it because we have free will. He allows free will because free will is a good thing. It allows us the ability to love and to be generous and express moral values and so forth. But that also means we have the ability to do bad things. He allows us to do the bad. He allows us to do the good. My last little quick thought about that is, I think a lot of times when people use the word allow, at least if you're like me, a lot of times when people use the word, why does God allow this to happen? I think there's a picture of God up there in the heavenly realms, distant, maybe with his arms crossed. He doesn't care. He's dispassionate. He's disinterested. He just doesn't give a rip about you. Or that child who got raped or hurt or someone sold into slavery. He's like, whatever. He allowed it to happen. That is a completely devilish understanding of God. God is overwhelmingly present and aware in the world. He hates sin. If you've ever read the only conceivable way that you think God is dispassionate and doesn't give a rip is if you've never read the Bible or took it seriously. You can't hardly read the page without seeing how much God hates sin. He hates it when people choose the wrong thing. And he hates it. And that's exactly why we need to be saved. We need to be saved. I'll say this other last thing is, most people who talk about why God allows people to do bad things to other people, they talk about other people. I always turn around and say, why does God allow you to do bad things? Why does he allow you to lie and to steal and do things? Well, I don't ever rape someone. Well, then the point is you're still comparing it. It doesn't matter if you compare the atrocity. You've done something evil and bad. Have you ever hurt someone's feelings? Ever? Well, when you did, and you did it on purpose, you yelled or snapped or say your mama's ugly, whatever it is, why did God allow you to do that? Were you ticked off at God? Did you become an atheist when you did a bad thing? Well, no, you didn't. That's stupid. What you did was you justified it. You justified it. Or you said, I'm sorry. What you didn't do was blame God for your stupid, sinful choice. That's exactly what people do with other people. If other people cause evil and sin, God is to blame. He is the jerk, the villain, the absent-minded idiot who didn't come to person X's rescue. But we don't do that when we do evil. In other words, it's ridiculous. We're being completely unfair and silly. It doesn't make any sense to blame God for the choice a human made. That just makes no sense. And I know many people who spent so many years of their lives furious at God when he is not at all to blame. It just doesn't make any sense. If my house burst into flames and got on fire and I lost everything, and I was so angry at my dog, and he was in his cage the whole time, it wouldn't make any sense. And I walked around the rest of my life hating dogs and talking about dogs. My blank, blank, blankety blank dog. Ugh. People look at, why are you talking about your dog? Did he light a match? Did your dog did this? Yeah. What do you do? Well, he allowed in that cage. Then that goes back to the other thing is if God were so good, he would not have allowed me to suffer. But okay, you're just skipping over the most important thing there is in that equation, that problem, which is God allowed a human being to cause you suffering. Of course he did. The human being has free will, just like you do. You have the free will to kill the person in return or to forgive them in return. And he's watching, and he's aware, and he's present with you. Everybody. Well, I'm going to say more about that in another podcast, but not right now. Another question. I love stories about God performing miracles. Water to wine, one fish feeds several. Are there examples of this today? What are modern day miracles? The short answer is stinking yes. Miracles are occurring all over the world all the time. All the time. I'm going to give you 2 books that you can go read if you want. I'll start with a lighter weight. This is a really, really lightweight one, and it's pretty good, by Dr. Scott Kolbaba. And is a book, he's a medical professional, Scott is, and he has interviewed. Everybody in the book has been interviewed, and they're all medical professionals. They tell stories of what they consider to be answers to prayer, miracles, all kinds of stuff in this book. It's called Physicians' Untold Stories. Physicians' Untold Stories, Miraculous Experiences Doctors Are Hesitant to Share with Their Patients or Anyone. Physicians' Untold Stories by Scott Kolbaba, Kolbaba. That's really lightweight. You can read it in an hour. Not really, but I read it in half a day. But it's a fast, easy read. A little thicker read if you want a lot more. If you want thousands and thousands of examples of God performing miracles mixed with a bunch of other good stuff, you need to read Dr. Craig Keener's book. Keener, 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 called Miracles, 2 volumes. Miracles, 2 volumes, The Credibility of the New Testament Accounts. It started out as a footnote, and then that turned into, 200 pages, then 2,000 pages. So it's a massive. Craig Keener is awesome New Testament scholar, and good heavens, he can compose some books. I mean, he can write, and he's great. Keener's a great, 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 great scholar. His book, Miracles. So if you don't believe miracles after reading his book and these other books, I mean, that's your problem. You're just overwhelmingly closed-minded, in my view. But maybe I'm wrong. But so yes, God does do miracles. In my own life, I've never touched a person that got well right then. I think it'd be pretty cool. I've asked God for that before, but it hasn't happened yet. I know people who have been healed. At least I believe it's a healing. I can't prove it in a science laboratory, but you just do the best you can. Like my wife. When my wife was 3 or 4 years old, before I met her, her grandparents had a farm and a bunch of acres. They had a small pond out there and had a couple cows, and one cow that she loved. She'd go visit Grandma and Grandpa and play with the cow. And she was playing in the pond or near the pond one time, and apparently doing that got some, I guess because the cows drank from the same spot or whatever, she got viral encephalitis, and I think that's what it's called. And in that day and age, and similar today, but certainly in that day and age when she did it, this is back in the 1800s, because she's really, really, really old and haggly. She doesn't listen to my podcast. You're not even either. It doesn't even matter what I say. I can say what I want to say. But no, she's beautiful and awesome, and she's not ancient. She was little. Anyway, the point is back then she woke up one morning and could not move. Couldn't move at all. And her parents thought she was messing around. That she thought she had gum stuck to her hair. She couldn't get her head off the pillow. And because that happened to my father-in-law one time, and she thought, get up. She couldn't move. She was an absolute frozen. Her body couldn't move. Well, she went to the hospital. They figured out that's what it is. And the doctor said, basically, without a doubt, your daughter will now be a vegetable or she's going to die. There is no known treatment. There's no known medication. It happened before. We see this kind of stuff, and you need to get ready to get prepared. She will be a vegetable or she'll die. That's it. Well, they sent out the prayer request to everybody, and everybody in the prayer chain, they prayed, and they wept and prayed over her bed a lot. And people brought her little treats and stuff, flowers and toys and teddy bears and roller skates and stuff. On the third day, literally on the third day, she got out of bed, walked around, put on his roller skates, started rolling around the room. Now, you can say, boy, the body sure is special. You never know what's going to happen. And that's possible. Or you can take the route that my in-laws do, and so does my wife, and everybody who knows the situation, and says she was healed. Now, in the same hospital, there were other children and adults, and I bet you money they died. In the same hospital. That day around the globe, there's no telling people who died from natural causes, you might call that, diseases or so forth. Why did God heal her? Well, one is I don't have to tell you why God healed her. I don't have to explain why God didn't heal someone else before I believe God healed her. If my son and daughter were talking, my son walks up to my daughter and says, look, Dad gave me $10. And my daughter says, why'd he give it to you? And my son says, I don't know. I don't know why he gave it. Put it on my bed. It's mine. Had a note that said, here you go. And she says, I don't believe you. Where's mine? He said, what do you mean I don't believe you? What do you mean? I don't know where yours is. She goes, he didn't give me $10. Hayden says, well, okay, whatever, but I'm holding $10 in my hand. She goes, no, you're not. He said, what are you talking about? No, I'm not. She goes, no. I will never accept that you received $10 until you explain why I didn't. I think that's stupid. I mean, who would say that? No one would say that. That's silly. My son would have every right to say that. Doesn't make any sense. All I know is I was blind and now I can see, as the man says in John's Gospel. So I can't explain why God heals certain people and helps others. He's never revealed that to me. If he wanted me to know who he heals and why he heals them, he'll let me know that. Otherwise, I'll trust him. And that's it. You can still believe in miracles and believe God did it without having an explanation for every single time he says yes, every time he says no. All I know is I look at the data the best I can and say, based on all accounts, this is like a miracle. I know another guy who's a pastor in Houston, and he has some kids. He has several children, but he has, I think, 2 sons in particular. And he was born with a malformed heart, had a hole in his heart. Hole. There's no known medication, no known surgery. He got an x-ray, and they were scared to death, and he grew up. I think it developed or something. I think he developed because the kid, it wasn't a baby, but he was young. And time went on, they expected him not to do well and all this stuff. Well, they prayed. They come back and did some more tests not long afterwards. And the doctor, a different physician, saw him do the x-rays and pulled up his x-rays, and there was no indication of a hole, nothing. The x-ray person, the physician who looked over the chart, said, this isn't funny. Where's the real chart? Where's your son? He goes, we're talking about this, my son. It is my son. No, you just can't be right. Where's your son? He said, this is my son. My son who had the heart condition is the one who did the x-ray. He fussed at him. The doctor said, if you don't get your real son in here with the real x-rays at all, I'm going to call the so-and-so, blah, blah, whatever, and either tell the police, basically, because they were convinced he was accusing my pastor friend of committing insurance fraud, that he wanted a bunch of money for an illness that wasn't really there. And they argued. He had to debate it. He had to bring his son in and do some tests and all this other junk, and it's because there was no evidence of a hole in his heart. So he had a fight for it. The doctor said, when the doctor finally believed it, he said, this absolutely is a miracle. There is no conceivable physical medical explanation for why the heart healed back. I'd never heard of it, never seen it in my life, that a heart ever. And the pastor, his name was Paris. Paris said, "Will you write that down for me?" We put in a document, letter, and he said, "Yeah." So he has an official letter from a medical doctor. He has shown people for years that says, "What has occurred here is a miracle. There's no explanation whatsoever." You might say the heart sure is amazing. It healed by itself, maybe. It's just coincidental that it happened after a bunch of prayers. That's pretty interesting. Anyway, miracles do happen. And that they do, and you got to watch that. You also watch some YouTube videos of Craig Keener. He talks a lot about miracles. His book, and it's he talks like this, and but his content, he's great. I'll do another quick question of the time we have left. I think I have time. If God doesn't answer prayer, is it the way you asked? He's not in agreement with your request, or is it not the right thing for the answer? So what's the deal there? If God doesn't answer prayer, what's up? Well, remember, my answer is prayer isn't magic. There's no special incantation. There's no special formulaic way of speaking at all. Jesus even talks about this in Matthew 6, 7, and 8. So Matthew 6, verses 7 to 8, when he talks about don't pray like the Gentiles do. They heap a bunch of words. Gentile prayers that were typically spoken by priests were long and tedious and specific. And they were convinced if you said the wrong word, the wrong syllable, the wrong emphasis, the gods would be very, very offended, and they wouldn't accept your sacrifice, your offering. They might kill you, they might make you sick, might make your babies die, and so you had to say it just right. And so they spent a lot of energy being overwhelmingly OCD of exactly what to say. That is what Jesus says, do not do it like they do, because your Father in heaven knows what you need. Don't do all the whole thing. And so in that context, but I still would extrapolate it from that a principle, which is there's no magical incantation. We shouldn't think that we've got to say the exact words. I say that because, one is because it's true, but pastorally I say it because I've met many, many people through the years who have a horrible prayer life. They'll tell me, I don't pray much, however, because I don't know how to pray. And if I'm friends, I might say, do you know how to talk? And, well, yeah, I do. Well, then talk to God. Talk and listen. So my point is, you talk like you're talking to a very, 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 very well-respected person you respect in your life who loves you. But you're not talking to a buddy. It's someone you really, 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 really admire, and you're being respectful, but you know they love you, and you love them. Something like that. So it's not the way you asked it. It's not magic. It can't be that. So the other part of your question was, is he not in agreement with your request? The answer is, that's right. When God doesn't grant your request, it's because it's not what he wants. When God doesn't grant your request, he didn't want it. Period. He's the boss, that's it. Now, if he didn't answer it and he said no, it also means it wasn't good for you. It wasn't good for the kingdom, what he wants. It also means it's not good for you. Now, why is that? Because whatever he wants for the kingdom is good for you. And if you're an American and you're materialist, that does not sound right, because what's good for you is a large retirement, a bunch of cars and boats and golfing and success and business raises and no one ever sick and friends who love you and on and on and on, materialism that goes and whatever, and self-serving narcissists that we all are. That's not what the biblical picture of success is and what is good. Jesus says it explicitly in Matthew 7, 9 to 11 when he's encouraging his disciples to pray. Pray, ask, seek, knock. Our problem is not that we pray too much, we pray too little. It's just that whenever we ask for something, he says, it's like a good father, a loving father. What kind of father would give their son a snake when they ask for bread, or a stone when they ask for fish? I mean, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do it because they love their son. They're not going to give him something that would harm them. God the Father won't give you something that will harm you. Here's the problem. Here's the rub. We are convinced as human, we know exactly what will harm us and exactly what is good for us. Well, we are exactly wrong. We don't know. We can't possibly know what God knows in that. We can't possibly know that. From the minor things to the big things, we just don't know. Recently, this kind of stuff happens all the time. Not every day, but it happens enough. My wife is a consultant for a very well-known, very respected children's ministry firm, Children and Youth. She's great. She got hired there 2 years ago. Well, it's just supplemental income on the side, but income's nice, but the main thing is she gets to use her giftedness and help people, and she loves it. She's great at it. Well, recently her income was cut back. Well, because of that, because she has this other side income, it helps supplement the bills. So instead of us being on the streets, it helps. Well, God knew 2 years ago. Of course, he knew forever, but he knew 2 years ago when she wrestled whether or not she should apply for the job and all that stuff. He knew when he said, I think you ought to do it, and I did too. We felt peace about it. He knew back then, you're going to need it. Not only is it good, but just financially, you're going to need it. I mean, little things like that. What if she said no? So we ask God for wisdom, and he gives it, like James says. When he gives it to you, don't be tossed back and forth, and don't doubt when he gives you wisdom. If he gives you wisdom, do it. Even if we don't always understand what the wisdom is, but it certainly is peaceful. That's what James says. First of all, it's peaceful. My point is, that's just one little example where there's a time issue that there's no way we could have known. There's just, right now, friend, sister, brother, listen. If you're going through hell on earth right now, if you just lost a whole lot, you just do not know the benefit that will come of that. Of your character, of someone else's character. It might not be 20 years from now. It might not be 50 years from now. You might never know what the benefit is until the world to come. And then all of a sudden you see and you go, oh my goodness. Are you telling me 138 years from now, because that one thing happened, oh, I get it. Yes, that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. I'm so glad I went through that tragedy. Now I see the good it did. Now I'm confident of that because I know God is good. I know he's good. I know it. So if he doesn't answer your prayer request, you don't want it. Was it who was Garth Brooks? Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. We ought to. So the issue is, do you trust him when he says no? Now, of course, there are things like in the book of James when he says you ask, but you don't get it because you ask for the wrong things. You ask for things of the flesh and selfish things. That's true. Sometimes he says no because we ask for the wrong things, selfish things. Sometimes he says no for other reasons. Maybe we'll just never know what the exact reasons are. But whatever the ultimate reason is, he didn't want it. And if that makes you mad, I'm being serious here. If it makes you mad, what I just said, that demonstrates how corrupt your heart has gotten. God is good, and he's loving. Now, it might also be that you're hurting a lot, and right now that doesn't sound comforting to you. So either your heart is so corrupt, you've turned stone cold heart, or you're right in the midst of some hell, right in the midst of some sorrow and depression or whatever it might be, and those aren't comforting words to you. In my experience, those are the only two reasons why a person gets mad when I say the words, and I've said for years, or they hear the words, trust God. Sometimes he says no to your request. So give it to him. Just tell him that when you pray. God, right now I'm ticked off that you said no, or I think that you're saying no. But, okay, you're kind of wasting time. The best thing to say is, in the end, not my will, but yours. Not my will, but yours. God bless you. See you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you'll listen more. If you want more, go to davidpendergrass.com. There are tabs at the top that let you have access to all the podcasts I've recorded, to sermons I've done, books I've written. They're all there at davidpendergrass.com. You can also check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/glimpse of the kingdom. facebook.com/glimpse of the kingdom. And also look at my Twitter feed at Glimpse the King or at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass. There's tons of ways reached out. I hope you will. Send me your questions, send me your comments. If you'd like to support the ministries of Glimpse of the Kingdom, you can also find ways to give online on davidpendergrass.com. If you'd like for me to come and do some consulting, check out my website, davidpendergrassconsulting.com, and I'll be happy to come out and speak to your organization and help and train any way I can. God bless you. See you online.